Hi again, Rampage fans. Dan Weiss for SARampage.com here inside the Rampage locker room a day after San Antonio clinched their first playoff berth in 4 seasons. The Rampage headed back to the Calder Cup playoffs for the first time since 2008, and it's almost fitting that they're going to take on their longtime nemesis, the Chicago Wolves, in a best-of-5 Western Conference quarterfinal series that'll get underway here at the AT&T Center on Thursday night, 7 p.m. face-off. And SARampage.com will be your home for wall-to-wall coverage of all the Rampage's playoff action, both against Chicago and hopefully moving forward into June and into a Calder Cup run. But we're going to be catching up with the coaches, the players, everyone throughout the week here, give you interviews and inside information. And a day after the Rampage clinched that elusive playoff berth, I got an opportunity to talk with the head coach, Chuck Weber, for his thoughts 24 hours after the win. With the head coach, Chuck Weber, 24 hours ago inside this locker room. It was pretty celebratory as far as the mood goes as the Rampage clinched their first playoff berth in 4 years and their third in franchise history. Coach, now that you've kind of had a day to reflect and look back on it, are your emotions still the same as they were at about 6 o'clock yesterday?
Well, yeah, it was a situation where, we enjoyed the moment yesterday, and then, we talked about the boys about letting the moment pass, and now we focus on the playoffs. I don't think any of us would be just completely satisfied with just making the playoffs. That was just the next step in the journey.
Making the playoffs, obviously, justification for a great season, but 41 wins in itself is a great season no matter how you look at it.
Well, yeah, when you look at the grind that it's been since opening night, actually against Chicago here, winning in a shootout the way we did, using 2 goalies opening night to the different roster changes that we've had with guys going up and injuries and turnovers and things of that nature, and all the different guys that have made an impact on those 41 wins. I think it was really rewarding to look back and kind of be able to reflect on the journey that happened this past season. And
especially maybe be able to get to 20 wins at home, to get to 21 on the road, 20 at home. That's obviously a good achievement too. It means you were good on home ice as well as being away from home.
Yeah, we definitely got off to a slow start at home. I think we put a great run together in the second half of the year. And I think a lot of that was just really new guys getting acclimated to a new environment. Really with Kearns and Yonkman were really the only 2 that kind of knew the city and just getting comfortable and things like that. And it's a life adjustment a lot for a 21, 22-year-old guy to come into a new city. And I think we kind of went through some growing pains with that in October and November, just as well as we did, on the ice. And but the guys that really came together there mid-November and were able to put a good run together so far.
Was there one game or one moment in your mind that, in your opinion, kind of defined or turned around the season?
Well, I don't know if there's one moment per se, but probably that November road trip that we went on, where we beat Grand Rapids with Markey, and then he got called up, and then we went into Chicago, beat Chicago with Foster, and then Dove came in for the 2 games there at the end of the trip with Abbotsford, and we became that team that we really bought into our identity at that point. We became that defensive hockey team that no matter what piece to the puzzle was there, we defended hard, we grinded it out, and we found ways to win. Some low-scoring games with different guys stepping up along the way.
Your veterans really led the team, kind of aged like a fine wine, as they say, so to speak. Start Nolan Yonkman, the captain, had his best plus-minus rating, plus 19, after he was -5 a year ago. And then both Bracken Kearns and Billy Thomas. Billy ties a career-high 52 points, sets a career-high 27 goals. And Bracken, a new career-high as well for him, 52 points, 22 goals. So they really led the way, even at their tender-old age, I guess.
Yeah, we had a lot of veteran guys this year step up. The 3 you named, Mark Cullen, Greg Rallo, Tyson Strachan. Our whole leadership group was fantastic. We've spent a lot of time with them week in and week out, and they've been a solid voice, and kind of a buffer between this coaching staff and the rest of the team, and have really led the way both by example and practice and with their voice. And we've seen a lot of guys grow up this year. I think that's the most rewarding thing in the American Hockey League, is to see some of these guys that, whether they're rookies or first or even second-year pros, that you kind of see them come into their own. They find their identity. They might have been a different player in juniors and college, and to really see them grow up along the way and to embrace in the steps that they made in their career, as they were looking forward, like everybody else, to eventually make the National Hockey League, was a huge rewarding situation for Jason and myself.
Player who took the biggest strides this season, in your opinion?
Wow. Probably overall, I think Jacob came a long way from his rookie year last year, to the elite goalie that we know he can be. I think Dove, Dove and I have a long history going back to Cincinnati in 2007, 2008 there, and, to see the goaltender he's become as well. He's gotten more athletic with age, actually, and his play has improved throughout. And those two guys were really the cornerstone of our team. And then seeing young guys like Colby Roback, come a long way, make an all-star team, after kind of struggling through his first year pro last year. It was really rewarding. And then just to see guys like, Greg Rallo and Bracken Kearns get their first NHL games, it was really nice to be able to tell those guys that they're going to the show and be able to see their response to that. It was rewarding. And, like I said, I'm really fortunate from the standpoint of our guys have all made improvements this year. You can see the team, where we were back in October, November, and the improvements they made to the team that we were, now in March and April. And hopefully those are big things to come that we can make improvement now into hopefully April, May, and June.
Could you name a team MVP now at the end of the regular season?
I would have, if I had to name one, I would probably say our goaltenders. You can't name one guy, but I would say probably our goaltenders, have been probably the biggest impact on our success this year.
Okay, we'll talk more about Chicago as the week goes along, but just initially, as you take a look at their roster, and fortunately, they were just here a couple of weeks ago, so they pretty much have the same group that they had back in early April. What's your initial take on this team?
It's the same team we've really seen since day one. Like we talked about opening night here, they're a skilled team. They can make a lot of plays with puck possession. They want to play the game with speed, back and forth with transition. They have another strong pair of goalies with Lack and Climby there. A good set of puck-moving defensemen. It's been a tight series. I mean, people might say, oh, yeah, you guys are 4-0 against them, but the goal differential is only 4. I mean, it's 4 one-goal games with one being a shootout. So we know it's going to be a tight checking. Craig and Carl do a great job with their defensive systems. We know they're going to have some wrinkles for us, and a big part of our game is going to be able to make adjustments on the fly throughout the series.
And defensively, you've been very good against them for whatever reason. The fact of the matter is they haven't scored more than 3 goals against you in any of the games this year.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where we take pride in our team defense, just as they do. I think there's 2 2-1 games, 3-2 and a 4-3. So we're expecting low-scoring games. We're expecting to have to grind it out. Those we have to be prepared to go 0-0 into the third period, or 1-1 into single, double, or triple overtime, and find a way to get those timely goals. So we're going to need big, important minutes from a lot of guys in this locker room.
Do you like the setup of the playoffs, even though you're the higher seed, or I guess the lower seed, so to speak, of number 6, they're number 3? It's a short series, but you get to start at home, and I got to think that being able to start at home in a short series is an advantage, even though you're the number 6 seed. Yeah,
I mean, you could go back and forth on it either way. It's whether it's nice starting at home, but on the other way, you could go, well, Chicago comes in and says, well, they need a split, and then they just need 2 more wins at home. So from our standpoint, we're happy to be here, working to get that 6th spot, and hopefully be able to have some success early. Unfortunately for us, we've been a good road team as well, so we're not intimidated whether it's going into All-State or going into another building, if we can continue to play our style of play.
All right, Coach, again, we'll talk more about Chicago later this week, but enjoy the moment again, and we'll catch up here as we get closer to face-off.
We'll do. Thanks, Dan.
The head coach, Chuck Weber, I'm Dan Weiss for SARampage.com.